Hello, my name is Ines and I am a professor at the Faculty of Education at UNED, the National Distance Education University in Spain. In this introduction to the DIVE training about digital education as part of the higher education portfolio, I will present some basic concepts and frameworks used in digital education, and some international organizations that can provide support about this topic. For the definition of basic concepts, I will use the glossary elaborated by the EADTU, European Association of Distance Teaching Universities. Distance learning is a mode of study that allows the learner to study most or all of a course without attendance at a campus-based institution. The term online is introduced for describing activity that requires a connection to the internet. Blended learning is a mix of online learning with traditional teaching and learning practices. Typically, there is a combination of face-to-face interaction with online learning. We can establish a continuum from no digital to fully digital, that according to OECD goes from none or trivial online presence to web-supplemented, web-dependent, mixed or blended mode, and fully online. Our institutions will be somewhere in this continuum of online presence. Another model, the 3Ds, establishes also a series of 5 steps from digitization, that includes digitizing and organizing information, to digitalization, that includes automatizing and streamlining processes, and finally digital transformation, that involves transforming the institution through deep shifts that enable new educational and operating models. In the process of going more digital, we can find some frameworks that can help us in addressing this transformation. The OpenEDU framework by the European Commission identifies 10 dimensions of open education that we have to address when opening up higher education. These dimensions are, at the core, access, content, pedagogy, recognition, collaboration and research. And transversally, strategy, technology, quality and leadership. The documents related to the OpenEDU framework provide clear definitions and indicators for each dimension. The JSC, a United Kingdom digital, data and technology agency focused on tertiary education, research and innovation, has elaborated a complex and complete framework for digital transformation in higher education. It has published different guides and templates to support users in the implementation of the framework. Finally, the EADTU has created an e-excellence label in e-learning, following a benchmark approach to quality assessment. This label considers 6 dimensions, each of them clearly described in the EADTU documentation. The dimensions are strategic management, curriculum design, course delivery, staff support and student support. The content of this DIVE project training about digital education will explore these dimensions through the module videos. To conclude, I will mention some international organizations that deal with topics related to digital education and can facilitate documentation and guidelines, and also networking opportunities. For Vietnamese universities, 2 organizations may be of particular interest. One is the International Council for Open and Distance Education, ICDE, that has a global reach. Another one is the Asian Association of Open Universities, AAOU, that has a regional reach that covers Vietnam. JSC and Contact North, based in the UK and Canada respectively, provide useful documentation, webinars, guidelines, etc. Open Education Global, OE Global, has a global reach. ISAD provides service to Ibero-American institutions, and EADTU and EDEN, even if having a European focus, have also a global reach. I encourage you to check these organizations' websites and consult the resources they facilitate about digital education.
Hello, my name is Ines and I am a professor at the Faculty of Education at UNED, the National Distance Education University in Spain. In this module, we will explore some aspects about curriculum and course design in digital education. The module is organized in 3 parts. First, an overview about learning theories and pedagogical frameworks. Second, a video about instructional and learning design models. And third, some ideas about course design, from learning outcomes to assessment.
in the first part of this module about curricular and course design in digital education. I will introduce learning theories and pedagogical frameworks widely used in digital education. Among learning theories, instructivism and constructivism are the most common and well-known. From a model based on master classes and lectures and focuses on knowledge transfer from an expert to a passive reception and reproduction by the students, instructivism, we can move a step forward to constructivism, where students have an active role in building knowledge and teachers act as facilitators of learning. More recently, due to the evolution of the internet and wider communication options, connectivism has appeared, with a focus on networking and learning in diverse environments. Constructivist learning theory underpins a variety of student-centered teaching methods and techniques which contrast with traditional education, whereby knowledge is simply passively transmitted by teachers to students. It is based on the idea that knowledge is constructed by learners and not passively absorbed. Learning is an active process and understanding comes from making meaningful connections between prior and new knowledge. Interaction with the environment, culture, and society is important for learning. Collaborative learning is also important, and teachers are facilitators of learning. One of the most widely used models in online, distance education and blended learning is the Community of Inquiry framework, based on constructivism. The Community of Inquiry, COI, theoretical framework represents a process of creating a deep and meaningful, collaborative constructivist learning experience through the development of three interdependent elements: social, cognitive, and teaching presence. An online course can be a community of inquiry. Interaction, with content, with teachers, with other students, is a key element for the construction of knowledge, beyond the mere accumulation of content. This image represents the three dimensions or presences of the community of inquiry and their intersections for creating meaningful educational experiences. Teaching presence is the design, facilitation, and direction of cognitive and social processes for the purpose of realizing personally meaningful and educationally worthwhile learning outcomes. It refers to the interaction and engagement with the course structure and goals. Social presence is the ability of learners to project their personal characteristics into the community of inquiry, thereby presenting themselves as real people. It refers to the interaction and engagement with participants, other learners. Cognitive presence is the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse. It refers to interaction and engagement with the learning content. The authors of the COI model, Garrison, Anderson, and Archer, created a survey that explains the three presences with more detail and can help teachers or learning designers analyze or evaluate their online courses. Teaching presence refers to course design and organization, 4 items, facilitation, 6 items. And, finally, teacher presence refers to direct instruction, 3 items. The survey uses a 5-point Likert scale. Social presence refers to effective expression, 3 items, open communication, 3 items, and group cohesion, 3 items. Cognitive presence refers to the different stages of content presentation and processing, from triggering event, 3 items, and exploration, 3 items, to more complex cognitive presence and content processing, integration, 3 items, and resolution, 3 items. The Community of Inquiry model provides useful information to design and evaluate online courses from a constructivist approach to the teaching and learning process. In the second part of this module about curricular and course design in digital education, I will focus on different aspects to be considered in online course, and on design models used in digital education. As general considerations, we need to consider that online education requires to define teaching and learning approaches, such as those presented in Part 1, constructivism, in particular. Also, that designing online courses and contents means to choose and set digital tools and environments, such as those that are dealt with in the module about technology for digital education. And finally, there are online tools can be useful for designing courses and activities. We will see some examples in this module. Tony Bates, a reference author in online education, identified these common design characteristics. First, know the students you will teach. How do the students' characteristics influence your methods of teaching? Second, know what you are trying to achieve, which contents and learning outcomes you want the students to achieve. Third, know how students learn, and how can you engage or motivate and support students. 4. Know how to implement this knowledge. What kind of learning environment do you need to create to support student learning? Fifth, know what resources you have and what can be done within the constraints you have to work with. And last, ensure that the assessment of students actually measures the intended learning outcomes and unintended ones. The ADDIE model can help reflect about all those aspects. It is a cycle of 5 steps to build effective learning environments. The acronym ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement and Evaluate. The first step, analysis, implies the identification of instructional goals, target audience and required resources. The second step, design, refers to the definition of a learning solution that aligns objectives and strategies with instructional goals, thus, defining learning objectives, instructional strategies, etc. The third step, develop, refers to the elaboration and validation of learning resources, including a pilot test of these resources. The fourth step, implement, refers to the actual use of the learning solution by preparing the learning space or environment and engaging participants. The fifth step, evaluate, refers to the formative and summative evaluation of the quality of learning resources and how well they accomplish instructional goals. As an example of online tool that can help in the design phase of an online course following the ADDIE model, this template includes the objective, concrete tasks, and deliverables for each stage, and can help in keeping track of the progress. For example, as a result of the analysis step, we should produce a deliverable about training needs analysis. Or, as a result of the design step, we should prepare a deliverable about the assessment strategy we will follow in the online course. In the development step, a deliverable would be the specific assessment tools. This type of templates are adaptable and can support the design of online courses, identifying the relevant aspects to consider in each stage. In the third and last part of this module about curricular and course design in digital education, I will refer to different dimensions to be considered in online course design, including some examples from my own courses. A very relevant document in digital education is the Course Study Guide, where students can find all the information about the course. In this video, I will focus on the 4 aspects highlighted in the image: learning outcomes, learning contents, teaching methodology, and assessment. Learning outcomes are statements of what a learner is expected to know, understand, and/or be able to do at the end of a period of learning. Bloom's revised taxonomy can be very helpful in the process of writing the learning outcomes of a course. This taxonomy includes 6 cognitive processes linked to thinking skills that students have to exercise, from lower-order thinking skills, such as remember or understand, to higher-order thinking skills, such as evaluate or create. The table in the image collects different verbs that express these thinking skills, that we can use for stating our course learning outcomes. Constructive alignment is a relevant concept that emphasizes the need to align the learning outcomes we expect our students to achieve with the teaching and learning methods we design and implement, and with the assessment methods that will help us evaluate if the students have achieved the learning outcomes. Consistency and coherence between these aspects is fundamental in the online course design process. In this sense, Pascavicius identifies 4 aspects when conceptualizing open educational practices through the lens of constructive alignment. Learning outcomes are made explicit and openly accessible to students: selection, adaptation, and creation of open learning resources, use of OER to inspire the design of more engaging teaching and learning activities, and openness in the design of assessment and evaluation, active participation and production of knowledge by students. In a similar approach, the Opening Up Education Framework for Higher Education, by the European Commission, provides some guidelines in relation to learning content and pedagogy, emphasizing students' agency, personalized teaching, collaborative and networked learning, use of authentic resources, and sharing of resources and practices. This is aligned with the UNESCO recommendation on OER, 2019, that states as an aim the judicious application of OER, in combination with appropriate pedagogical methodologies, well-designed learning objects and the diversity of learning activities, can provide a broader range of innovative pedagogical options to engage both educators and learners to become more active participants in educational processes and creators of content as members of diverse and inclusive knowledge societies. Regarding learning or educational resources, we have to consider the content itself and the digital tools to support learning. The learning content can be available in different formats, either printed or digital, text-based, video, or audio-visual format. It can be integrated in a learning management system or be external printed or e-content. It can be open educational resources, OER, or have a restricted license. If we are using traditional textbooks, it is important to follow a structure adapted to distance education. In this case, it is recommended to include in the book sections about objectives, audience, structure, or how to study. Also, suggestion of activities or self-assessment are recommended so students can have an enriched book beyond mere content. About digital tools that we can use, I will just mention some general guidelines as there is a specific module about technology. Bates proposed a model called Sections to support designers in the process of technology selection and application that allows to take decisions on both educational and operational issues. The 8 aspects considered in this model for selecting digital tools are: students' characteristics, ease of use of the tool, costs, teaching functions or potential contribution of the digital tool to the learning process, interaction that the tool can facilitate, organizational issues such as institutional support to the tool, networking or community potential of the tool, and security and privacy that the digital tool provides. Another model, widely used in relation to integration of technology in education, is Puentedura's SAMR model, where S refers to substitution, A to augmentation, M to modification and R to redefinition. Substitution and augmentation imply the enhancement of the educational process, and modification and redefinition go further and imply the transformation of the educational process. In the SAMR model, substitution means the replacement of a current technology with a new one. Augmentation functionally improves the teaching-learning task by using technology. Modification implies that the task is redesigned by the technology used. And redefinition means that the task cannot be done without the technology. In the process of using digital tools, this SAMR model can help us decide how far we want to go. Some examples of the SAMR model applied to digital education are those in the screen. For instance, interactive textbooks can enhance digital content, augmentation. Or peer assessment tools in the LMS can transform the e-assessment strategy, modification. Or automatic online feedback to learners can transform and permit options that otherwise were not possible, redefinition. With regards to teaching methods, one important aspect to consider in the online course design process is related to the type of communication strategies we want to use. On the one hand, synchronous communication occurs in real time and facilitated more responsive interaction and immediate feedback, but it may be difficult for students to attend live meetings. On the other hand, asynchronous communication via forum that occurs at different times is more flexible and permits more think time and in-depth responses. In relation to teaching and learning methods and to open educational practices I already mentioned, we can distinguish between traditional and renewable assignments. Traditional or disposable assignments are often seen only by the instructor for the purpose of demonstrating content mastery and achievement of learning objectives. Examples are, for instance, exams or essays that the students produce and only the teacher reads. On the contrary, renewable assignments provide students with opportunities to engage in meaningful work, add value to the world, and provide a foundation for future students to learn from and build upon. Examples are, for instance, contributing to an open textbook or to Wikipedia entries, or collaborative activities in the course forum or other collaborative tools. When preparing our online course, we can consider what type of assignments we want to design. Finally, assessment methods and their alignment with the learning outcomes are key in the course design process. The ALOA model relates the assessment methods to the learning outcomes stated following the revised Bloom taxonomy, mentioned earlier in this video. This model includes a selection of 6 categories of general assessment, from multiple choice questions, MCQ, to reflective practice assignments. The TALO tool, based on the ALOA model, provides assessment advice. Selecting the verbs that better describe the learning outcome we want to achieve, the system recommends assessment methods. In this example, the learning outcome, identify the phases of a cooperation project, corresponds to remember, a low-level thinking skill, and the descriptive verb is recognize. The TALO tool suggests the following e-assessment methods for that learning outcome: MCQ remember, essay, quote to discuss, or problem solving, diagnosis. In this other example from the same course, the learning outcome, design a cooperation project, corresponds to create, a high-level thinking skill, and the descriptive verb is plan. The TALO tool suggests the following e-assessment methods for that learning outcome: practical work, open-ended inquiry, essay, problem, and problem-solving, generation. This type of tools can help us in the process of constructive alignment, when we need to decide which teaching and assessment methods we will use in our online course. Hello, my name is Ines and I am a professor at the Faculty of Education at UNED, the National Distance Education University in Spain. In this module we will explore some aspects about student support services in digital education contexts. The module is organized in 2 parts and this introduction, where I will briefly mention some aspects about student needs and demands in digital contexts. In Part 1, I will present some academic support services based on my experience at UNED. In Part 2, I will talk about specific support actions with specific groups of students. Some important aspects to take into consideration in digital education are learners' profiles and contextual aspects that may lead to high dropout rates and may demand academic support services to overcome this tendency and facilitate students' learning and well-being. We may find students who are new to digital education, or who have not studied for a long time, or who may have specific needs or live special situations. Also, students in distance education may experience isolation and social distance that may difficult their engagement and performance in the courses. These aspects and the student support services we can set at our institutions will be dealt with in this module. In the first part of this module about student support services in digital education contexts, I will introduce some academic support services widely present in higher digital education. I will present UNED as an example case. And, as other distance education universities in the world, as a distributed structure, faculties are located in the capital city, Madrid. There are regional centers across Spain, where face-to-face activities and final exams take place, and there are support or exam centers abroad in different countries in Europe, America, and Africa. The teaching staff is divided between faculty and tutors. On the one hand, professors at the different faculties and are in charge of course design, preparation or selection of learning content, final assessment design and marking, and communication with students via online forum and, in some cases, synchronous and asynchronous video lessons. On the other hand, tutors are located in the regional centers and they are in charge of delivering weekly or bi-monthly synchronous lessons with the students, either face-to-face or hybrid. Also, they support and mark the continuous assessments tasks and they communicate with their group of students via online forum, besides the face-to-face tutoring at the regional center. Tutors are the closest to the student support agent. As in other universities, libraries are very relevant as an academic support infrastructure. They not only provide access to academic literature in different formats, but libraries also facilitate training about information management to students. In the case of UNED, the library facilitates online support guides about aspects such as citation and references, writing and academic work, how to avoid plagiarism, or how to use databases for bachelor degree students. Another common academic support service at universities in Spain, also at UNED, is the Guidance and Employment Center, where students can find support guides and resources about time management, study techniques, how to control anxiety during the exams, etc. Also, counselors are available at this service for academic guidance. Once the students have completed a degree, they can get professional orientation at this center and get guidance about employment. With regards to students' well-being, the Faculty of Psychology has created a student support online program that is available for free. This service provides guidance for students, with an emphasis on emotional aspects and self-regulation. Finally, digital tools can enhance student support services, as well. For instance, the Faculty of Psychology set up a chatbot to support students during the preparation of the final degree project that all the students have to and develop in their final course. The chatbot was designed to reply frequently asked questions about this academic assignment, with the benefits of being available at any time and responding immediately and also saving time from faculty and staff. In the second and last part of this module about student support services in digital education contexts, I will talk about specific support actions at UNED with specific groups of students, such as new students, students with disabilities, or students in prison. First-year students and pre-students can form a specific group of learners or future learners that may experience particular needs and demands, especially if they are new to digital education. The UNED has created an online welcoming community per faculty where all new students are registered, and where they can get support from a counselor and from senior students who act as mentors. The virtual welcoming communities are collaborative spaces, designed to promote the integration of students so they can familiarize themselves and resolve their doubts. They are available throughout the academic year and can be accessed by new students enrolled at UNED. They get information about the UNED methodology, specific training about time planning, autonomous learning, etc., and an online community where they can meet and communicate with other students. Through a guided site, students can find an initial kit and a Going Deeper section with information about the UNED and tips for being successful in the courses. If they complete the welcoming activities, they can get 1 ECTS. The benefits of the online welcoming community for the students are greater knowledge of the dynamics of the UNED, optimize all the resources at the student disposal, better plan the study time and effectively handle the tools designed to improve the student teamwork, evaluation and self-regulation of the learning process performance. These are the characteristics and advantages of the general welcoming communities that all the faculties have. But there are some cases where specific faculties have their own welcome plan. This is the case for the School of Engineering. This school is the one with the highest dropout rates. To overcome this, the Industrial Engineering School has set a pre-welcome plan that consists of a series of open and free courses where tools and resources are made available to future students to facilitate the start of their degrees. This is an example of the open course about technical drawing for access to engineering degrees. Future students can refresh their knowledge before enrolling in the bachelor degree, and thus more easily engage and be successful in regular courses. The pre-welcome plan in the School of Engineering also facilitates direct communication with the school head and with mentor students through instant message application groups and provides guidance about what and how to study. With the purpose of leveling knowledge and facilitating engagement and retention, the pre-welcome plan is an example of specific support action for prospective students. Besides the online welcome activities at the faculties already mentioned, the UNED regional centers also develop welcome online or face-to-face free sessions before the courses start in October. This guidance and support activities about the UNED, study techniques, etc. are well valued by the students. To conclude this module about student support services, I will mention 2 programs that UNED has established for specific populations. In agreement with the Ministry of Social Rights and various organizations, the UNED set up an office to support students with disabilities. It employs pedagogical counselors that mediate between students and teachers and facilitate guidelines to teachers about how to adapt the contents and the exams when needed. For instance, for blind students. Finally, the UNED has a support program for students in prison, in agreement with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. These students take the exams in prison. As in the previous case, pedagogical counselors mediate between students and teachers and facilitate guidelines to teachers about how to adapt the contents format, assignments, etc. when needed. The existence of specific programs and professionals for student support helps to guarantee that all the students get included in the learning process.